Yeah, girl, me want for you all, yo. Put me arms right around you. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Girl, me want for just squeeze you. Put me things all around you. Girl, you give me the tightest hold me ever get in my life. Me guide them jam, me no care. Take it time in here. You know the square, so me no fear. And as a woman, I will be there.
So now we found the sweet spot of the board with our knees, and we're going to learn how to use the basics of the paddle. So the paddle is to be held a lot like a canoe paddle. Right hand on top, left hand on bottom. I'm paddling on this side, and I'll switch hands, paddle on this side. Now when I stand up, I'll use the T-grip, but on my knees I have to hold further down the shaft because I'm closer to the water. One of the common mistakes in paddle surfing is holding the paddle the wrong way. Common sense says it looks like it'll scoop better like this, but in actuality, this is the correct way to hold it, and you'll notice the angle of attack is straight up and down at the power point. Whereas if I hold it backwards, now it's pointing up. Spotted the board and marked it in our minds, we're ready for the fun part, standing up. So the way we stand up is we place the paddle across the front of the board, get on our hands and knees. I'm going to place my feet right where I've established a sweet spot to be, and keeping my hips low. Get the paddle in your hand and stand up slowly. Remember to stay low and keep your knees bent. I'm going to place my feet right where I've established a sweet spot to be, and keeping my hips low. Get the paddle in your hand and stand up slowly. Remember to we've learned the basic paddling techniques, it's time to learn the basics of the turn. So the first thing we do is, if you paddle on one side of the board, you will turn in the opposite direction to the side you're paddling on. So that's our first turn, is to paddle on one side of the board and not switch sides. Another thing we can do is called a back paddle, when we actually move the paddle blade from the rear of the board to the front. So if I want to turn to the right, I can paddle on my right side backwards. One of the big mistakes is people stand straight up and then they're off. Remember to stay low and keep your knees bent. When you feel like you're going to fall, go down, not up. A lot of people make the mistake of getting up with one foot in front of the other. Okay? This is not the way you want to paddle. So now that we're standing up, we want to talk about proper paddling technique. So we know how to hold the paddle. The proper technique is to keep our arms relatively straight, because we're going to be paddling with our core, not with our arms. So if I have my hands too close in, I can't get a good stroke. What you want to do, arms straight, and it's sort of a downward and back motion. What you want to do, arms straight, and it's sort of a downward and back motion. Squeeze, yeah. Put me things all around, yeah. Girl, you give